I realized that this experience of returning to dance, as well as just the challenges I have faced in my own life, has given me so much perspective. Looking back, I'm like, thank goodness I went through all of that, because who would I be without that? What would my perspective be without that? These are things I would have not received if my life path didn't go the way that it did. Welcome to the Decision to Dance podcast. My name is Priscilla Piper, and I am so excited that you are here. As a new podcast, it means so much to us that you decided to listen. So without further ado, please enjoy. Something that I love is getting different perspectives from people. And I think like many other dancers and many other people, I can really get stuck in my head, in my own little tunnel, my own little lens, and get caught up in my side of things and my perspective. It's very hard to have that bird's eye view on things. And so I really enjoy being able to listen to other people, other podcasts, other videos, other posts, and just talking to other people, getting their perspective on life, on dance, on whatever the topic is. It's really refreshing, in my opinion, to speak with other people and hear their perspective on different situations. And it allows me to take that step back and be like, oh, I didn't really think of that, right? I didn't see it from that perspective. And I'm so glad now that I'm thinking a little bit differently than I would have if I didn't hear that other person speak on that topic in the way that they did. That's why one of the pillars of this podcast is perspective. Sometimes you just need to see the world from someone else's point of view. It can be so helpful. At least it is for me. And I actually came across, I don't know why I was reading it, but I was reading one of my Instagram posts from last year. It gave me a lot of thoughts, and I thought that I would share it with you and just give you a little bit of what kind of went through my head after I reread this a few months after posting. It says, "The longer I'm back in dance and the more life I live, I'm just so grateful. Waking up another day and having the opportunity to dance is the win in my eyes. I used to be upset for a long time that my life didn't really turn out the way I had planned. I was a bit resentful, sad, hurt, so many things. I didn't want to quit dance when I did, but it felt necessary for my well-being at the time. So when I got back into dance and it felt like I never took a class a day in my life, I was annoyed. All of those years I had put in for nothing, or so I thought. But fast forward 5 years and I'm probably the happiest I've ever been as an adult. I can't even imagine who I would be now without those challenges I had faced. It has given me so much perspective. As someone who grew up in the competition world, I'm glad to have returned back to the internal process that dance has been for me. I needed some time to just dance for myself and not worry about trying to achieve something. It's been the best and most healing decision I've ever made." And just for some context, this video, I was dancing to the song I'm Alive by Celine Dion. And at the end, I say, also, the song was definitely part of the jazz warm-up we did every day growing up. And then I was actually listening to that song as I was getting ready. And I was like, oh, I can see it now, like, just like the best jazz warm-up, early early 2000s, and I miss that, and I miss the music. Like, Celine Dion, can't go wrong. So anyway, I talked about how the experience of quitting dance and returning, I have so much more perspective than I would have ever had if I did not quit dance. Now, I'm not saying you should quit dance. I'm not saying that at all. But like I said, it felt like I needed to in that time in my life. Now, there are things I would have done differently knowing what I know now, but I do think it was necessary that I did take a bit of a step back. Not everyone goes through something like that, right? In terms of stepping back from the thing that they love and coming back to it and feeling like they've never done this thing ever in their life when really they did it for 17, 18 years. And that's a hard place to be. But I realized that this experience of returning to dance, as well as just the challenges I have faced in my own life, aside from this, has given me so much perspective on life, but on dance and on myself and on other people. These are things I would have not received if my life path didn't go the way that it did. And I said in there, I wish things didn't go this way. But the fact that it did, I've now come out on the other side of it. And I'm looking back at like the hills and the valleys and just like the chaos that ensued for me to get here. Looking back at it all now, it's weird. I'm kind of like getting a visual of just being on top of like a mountain and looking back at like the trail, just like the long the long trail. And I look back at that now and I'm like, man, did I earn my spot at the table? What table, you may ask? I don't know. Maybe it's not something that I've never done before, but something I want to be a part of and something I feel like I deserve to be at. And that doesn't mean that I'll know everything, because I definitely don't. But my perspective, my experiences, I guess you can say hard work, because it is hard work. The consistency, the patience, whew, that I put in earned me a seat at the table. And a few years ago, or even, I don't know, not too long ago, I would not have said that. I would not have said that I I should have a seat at the table, because I would have said, I don't really know what I'm talking about. I don't really have the perspective. I don't really believe that I belong there. But now I feel so strongly about that. And we all put in so much work, especially as dancers. So much work, so much money, so much time. It's so much. And I think we have to remember how much we put into this. And on top of that, remember like all that we've been through outside of just dance, right? Because those hardships, those challenges, all of those things have given you the perspective that you have. So even if you don't, and this isn't just about dance, this is really about anything. You can apply this to anything. But because of those life experiences and those skills that you gained outside of dance or within dance, I bet you a lot of those skills are transferable in some way that can give you that seat at the table because of your perspective, because of your skill set, because of that one thing that just kind of stands you apart from other people. And that's different for everyone. Everyone has different life experiences. And of course, I do not deny how lucky I have been, the privileges that I have experienced in my life. Like, I can't deny those things at all. But I also have to acknowledge the challenges. And I used to be so sad that certain things in my life just like were not working out. And I just wish that things did. I wish things just worked out. But instead, it was tough for a while. But now, again, on the other side of it, looking back, I'm like, thank goodness. Thank goodness I went through all of that, because who would I be without that? What would my perspective be without that? I have so many more things that I think about that I wouldn't have thought about before. It's like when you hear people who've been through really, really tough things, and sometimes those people are like the kindest, most thoughtful people. And that's not always the case, but that tends to be because they know what it's like to go through those really tough experiences in life, and either they don't want you to experience something that they've been through, or they recognize the importance of just being kind because they know what it's like to have really tough things going on in their lives. So for me, I am so thankful to have gone through what I went through, because if things just worked out and I continued dancing and never stopped, my perspective would be a lot different. And that's not necessarily, that doesn't mean that it would be a bad perspective. It would just be a different perspective. But also, I have to say, and I've thought about this a lot, I don't really have a choice but to believe this, but to see my situation as this. Because the alternative is to be upset. It is to be sad. It's to go the complete opposite direction and not necessarily move forward and just be upset that your situation was a situation that it was. But instead, I'm going to acknowledge what I've been through, what I've done to get here, and I'm going to be so freaking proud of myself. Because I can't do the opposite. I can't. I did that enough in my own life. I'm not going to keep doing it. So that's the perspective I try to have. I'm going to acknowledge the good, but I'm also going to acknowledge the challenges, because those challenges have gotten me where I am. And in terms of dance specifically, I know that I've put in so much time and I've had so much patience. Oh my gosh. That's another thing I don't think we talk enough about, but so much patience. Thought about giving up, thought about walking out of classes so many times. Also, I just have to mention the number of times that I would cry in my car driving home after dance class it was so often. It was so bad. And I forgot how often I used to do that until I was doing more for this podcast, and I was thinking about it. Like, I forgot how bad that was. And that's why I started this podcast, because I think about myself during that time. And I thought, if I had a podcast like this that I could listen to on my way to dance, on my way home from dance class, I would have had a little less tears. Seriously. So I'm thinking about all those other people who were in my same shoes, who are also thinking the same things, who are also frustrated and annoyed and sad and wondering if it's worth it to start over again, or to just start at all, because it's tough. I've said this before. It's hard and it feels so lonely. and then you go home and you cry on your drives home. Then you're wondering, should I show up again tomorrow? Should I show up again next week? Is this all worth it? So having a podcast like this, I think, would have helped me give me that perspective. It would have been so nice to have had somebody to listen to who was 5 years ahead of me speaking to me now like, I know it's tough. You're going to get through this. You have to just put in this time. It's an uphill climb, but you're going to get there. I'm not saying it would have eliminated the tears, but I think it would have definitely reduced them. So I just want to remind anyone that could be struggling with that, don't forget to zoom out. Don't forget to take yourself out of that little lens. And it can take different things to do that. Listening to different podcasts, listening to other interviews, talking to your friends, talking to your family. But we can get so stuck in our thoughts, and we gotta pull back, especially if we're gonna do this long term. We can't get so focused on the one side of things. You got to surround yourself with other points of view to get through this. So I hope that's helpful. If you really want to see how far you've come, I encourage you to read your own Instagram captions and you can see how far you've come. Maybe you were doing great and you're not doing as great, but maybe you could use that as inspiration of like, oh, that was a time I was doing really well in my life. What was I doing then that was working out that I could implement now? Or if you're doing much better than you were, you can be like, oh, that was a time I was struggling and now I'm not anymore or as much. And you can really reflect on that and think about, what did you change? What did you improve upon? What did you do differently to get to where you are now? So I love reflecting. I love looking back and acknowledging the process and thinking to myself, what did I do that worked to help me get to where I am? Or what could I do differently to make things even better? So I love perspective. It just helps me think more clearly than I would have if I was just on my own. And I think it just goes back to the importance of community, because if you were living on your own and you didn't talk to a single soul, gosh, that would just be a one-sided view of the world, right? Thank goodness we have people to talk to and get other experiences and stories that we can learn from, that we can fill ourselves up with, and also then again share with everyone else around us. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and feel free to leave a comment on what your takeaways were from this episode, and if there were any thoughts that came to your mind while you were listening. I would love to have further conversations around this topic. And if you feel like you got something out of it and your friend could get something out of it too, feel free to send this episode to them as well. I really appreciate you all for being here. It seriously means the world to me. You have absolutely no idea. So the fact that you're taking time out of your day to listen to this podcast when you could be listening to literally anything else out there, it just means everything. And I could not be more thankful. So thank you for being here, and I cannot wait for the next episode.